In the previous reel, we talked about unprescripted events that can be difficult to remember because it's so difficult to process, because there's no cultural expectation or preparation for the event. And I talked about prescripted events, culturally prescripted events, such as weddings, where you already know exactly what you're supposed to feel, what you think you're going to feel. It fulfills expectations, and so nobody forgets their wedding. And so, what I would like to talk about now is a non prescriptive cultural event. That is, an event that the culture is not prepared to address, and that is sibling abuse. Sibling abuse usually starts at a very, very young age, but it cannot occur if one or both parents are allowing it to happen. This is beyond sibling rivalry. The abusive child, the abusive sibling, will be the toxic person who does not recognize the horrendous behavior they have engaged in. And so sibling abuse can be ignored and forgotten for decades because there's no real cultural prescription for those events, so there's no expected reaction that we can expect to have. And so what happens with sibling abuse is that if the parents do not intervene, and they usually don't, because sibling abuse is instigated by one or both parents because of their own family history and dysfunctionality, whatever the reason. They don't see it or seem to not see it. And so the abusive sibling continues to be abusive. How? By lying, belittling, keeping secrets, bad mouthing to other family members, other people, and not really behaving in the way one would expect a sibling to behave. No seeking out shared memories. All the effort is put in by the abused sibling in keeping the relationship, such as visits, and no effort is made on the part of the abusive sibling to bring his or her family over entirely to visit the abused sibling, things like that. These are behaviors that continue into adulthood. But the abused sibling, the so-called scapegoat, will not see the abuse. For decades, there could be no memory that can be identified as abuse because it's coming from a sibling, and we are not prepared to recognize or acknowledge that kind of abuse. We expect sibling to be family, and we ignore all the red flags, all the lies, all the secrets, all the bad mouthing, all the betrayals, all the thefts. We ignore everything because there's no predictable formula that's culturally prepared us to recognize the signs when it comes from siblings. It's not a very explored field, actually. And so it can take decades to recognize accumulated abuse and disrespect and unkindness and all sorts of other toxic behaviors that one has simply ignored as if forgotten. Ignored and forgotten because not remembered. Until when? Until the pattern becomes so undeniable that eventually, if you live long enough, you will recognize the pattern. So try to be sensitive to everything that happens. We don't have culturally prescripted emotions ready for events that the culture has not addressed. And the sibling issue has not been addressed as well and as completely as it should have.